Our next speaker, Ganna's Gamma, has a story that redefines resilience. Imagine your life as a social media post. A chapter is a post, a challenge is a story. Now imagine being forced to log out of your account and everything you have ever known and start over. Ganna's journey begins in Crimea, Ukraine, and eventually leads to the US as a refugee. She had faced war, displacement, and the struggle to rebuild from zero. But she didn't just restart, she reinvented. From learning English at SJCC to becoming a content creator, podcaster, and a digital storyteller, Ganna's journey is a proof that even in the darkest times, we have the power to create a new narrative. Please welcome Ganna's Gamma with Reposting My Life. Yes.
So imagine your life as a social media profile. Every challenge is a story, and every chapter is a new post. So as we all know, social media is where we share, connect, and also changing our narratives. But what if life forced you to start over, not just online, but in reality? So let me take you back to the post that I will never made and a story that shaped me. I was born in Crimea, Ukraine, and right there, surrounded by the Black Sea, and honestly, my childhood was just amazing. I was a really actively involved child. I went to music schools since I was 6 years old, and also I was dancing. I was even trying to do Taekwondo. Don't ask me why, ask my dad. But in 2014, Russian invasion changed everything. And because of my and my family pro-Ukrainian political position, as well as our desire to speak Ukrainian language, Russians started to threaten us. And basically, those were threats of life. That is why we were forced to leave. So at some point, we just packed all our belongings in just 2 suitcases and moved to Kiev. And honestly, it was such a fun time for me because I had a chance to restart my life. At 14 years old, I was also able to go to college, and I started to learn more about choir conductor, as well as I wanted to become a music teacher. And I believe my most favorite thing about that part is that I was finally able to speak Ukrainian language freely. However, even though I was really happy and I didn't have a lot of issues at that time of my life, I still didn't feel that this is the place where I want to be, or this is what I want to do. However, my thoughts about the future stopped when I woke up at 5:45 a.m. because of my mom's screams that they're bombing us. And I remember standing up from my bed and kind of checking my phone, and I see that it is Thursday, February 24, 2022. So I remember standing up, and my body, it was shaking so bad, but not because I was cold, but because I was terrified. I didn't know what is going to happen, if we're going to survive, or what's going to be next. So I started to pack things for my dog because, she's my actual baby, and I just wanted to have her passport, food, and vaccination certificates. And after that, I just remember standing there and looking at my empty suitcase. I have no idea what I need to pack for myself. The thought that I had in my head at that moment was, there is no way an actual war is going to happen in 2022, and probably I'm going to be back home by tomorrow. But as you can see, I'm sitting here with all of you 3 years later, and I never returned home after that day. So this day actually brought a lot of confusion. I was really scary, and I remember it was also the first day for me when I was running to the shelter to hide from the Russian missiles. Also, it was the first time in my life when I saw my dad in tears, but not because he was afraid of dying himself. He was afraid that his children, me and my brother, would die from a Russian missile. So after we packed all the things and actually got into our car, we were driving for 48 hours. You may ask me where you can possibly drive for like this long. And honestly, it wasn't because we were driving so far. It was because of the traffic. Because everybody was trying to just save their families and kind of move somewhere where it would be a little bit more safe. So after 48 hours, we kind of stopped at a very little town in the border of Poland in Ukraine with our great friends who actually had a house there, so we were able to sleep a night. Because at that point, my parents thought that, they will be able to figure it out, everything's gonna stop at some point, and, if we're at the place where they don't have a lot of military objects and stuff like that, then probably Russians are not gonna target that place. But no, we were wrong, because even when we were staying there, we had a lot of ear sirens and explosions. So after that, my parents had a really long talk and decided that it is time for us to move. And the next thing that I remember is that my dad was driving us through the border with Poland. And I remember seeing this long, long line with dozens of people, especially women and small children, because they all were trying to evacuate. So everything happened really, really quickly. I just remember saying goodbye to my dad. And honestly, we had no idea if we will ever have a chance to see each other again. The only thing that I remember he told me was, "You're the head of the family now, and you need to figure it out." So the new chapter of my life made me very confused and scared. However, I didn't have a privilege of laying down and having a good cry or going to a therapist and talking about what happened in my life and that the actual war happened. At that same time, I started to have a lot of anxiety attacks. If you don't know, it is basically when you're just stop breathing without even a trigger. It just happened, and you're just scared that you're gonna die because your body is not able to breathe anymore. So this is the time when I started to learn more about self-regulation. I started to watch a lot of videos on YouTube, how to do deep breathing, as well as I started to practice meditation and journaling, and it was something that really helped me a lot. So we stayed in Poland for a couple more months, and this is when the US opened the program for Ukrainian refugees, so we were able to come here in this country and stay with some other of our family. And after spending thousands of dollars on tickets to come here, as well as my dog documents, because if you don't know, it is actually cheaper to bring a person in this country than a pet for some reason. So I remember sitting in a plane from Warsaw to LA and kind of thinking about my next steps of what I need to do to kind of start everything over again. I didn't know what the answer was, but I had a little bit of the idea of American dream. However, America, as well as social media, didn't pass the reality check for me. We were waiting in LA for 7 hours to get our documents checked without even the possibility to sit, because they didn't have any benches. And we also had the next flight to San Jose after we went through the custom. And it was just so confusing for me because everybody around was so happy about their next flight. Somebody was there with their whole families. And I was just so confused because my life just got over just a couple of months ago, and I don't know what's gonna happen next. So after we landed in San Jose and came to my aunt's house, and we were able, to finally left our things and kind of get some sleep. After that, I spent for about 3 months just laying down in a room, crying, and I would say I was really depressed, and I didn't really understand what's gonna happen next and what should I do, where should I start. However, somewhere deep inside me, I knew that my life wasn't over, and after those 3 months, I decided to take the responsibility for my life and started to move because I knew that nobody's gonna come and save me. So I was looking for different ways to how I can feel alive again. So I applied to SJCC's ESL classes without knowing any English, but I knew that I need to learn it, and I need, this is kind of the first step of what you need to do when you're in a new country, learn their language. When I started these classes, I kind of started to get to know many people, to kind of network around, and this is how I got my first friend, who also recommended me to go and talk to counselor Lesra, who actually helped me a lot throughout all my pathway at SJCC. She recommended me to go to the marketing department and ask them if they have any opening positions. And since that time, it is my second year actually working there as a social media content coordinator. As well as she helped me to kind of figure out that I want to be a graphic designer, but not only that, as well as a communicator, and that I'm really interested in media. And even though before that, I kind of thought that, this is just a dream and being a content manager is not a real job, this is what I am doing right now full time. So I am no longer surviving. I am creating, leading, and inspiring. Over the past 2 years, I realized my true potential and finally started to listen to my heart and what I really want to do. I was growing in knowledge, experience, as well as I started to get new, exciting projects. Some of those are, just last summer, I was working for the County of Santa Clara, and we were working on the social media research. And after that, we were creating content to improve the youth voter engagement from the age of 20 to 30 years old, and it was really, really exciting for me. As well as, even though I am in the United States, I'm still dedicated to proving humanitarian aid to people of Ukraine, and that is why I am also a volunteer at Nova Ukraine, and I am serving there as a social media content coordinator also. And I would say the last thing that I'm really, really proud of, it is just a recent project, but we actually just released our second episode yesterday. It is the new SJCC podcast, Take a Pause, which I am founder as well as creative director of, because I really want our students to have an easier pathway that I had at SJCC, and now they can just watch a video and kind of get through a lot of steps and get to know our community on campus better. And of course, even though I'm telling you everything right now, all these exciting projects that I've got, I know that I won't be there without the people who supported me. So I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful to everybody who supported me, because when I came here, I didn't really believe in myself. And all of you guys just made my life so much better. And I'm really grateful about that. As well as my parents who are here today, because our family is finally able to be here all together. So I would love to keep going and tell you my story in details and everything. However, I only have 10 minutes for that. But what I really want to do with all of you guys is, whether you're a passionate person about social media or you just use it to doom scroll, I really want you to take your phone, open Instagram or Facebook, and just post your story. You can post a picture, maybe you took it earlier this week, or maybe you already made a video from this event. So what I want you to do is to use the hashtag reposting my life. So even though I am wrapping up with this speech, I cannot wait to go grab my phone and learn more about you reposting your life. Thank you.